Welcome. My name's Chris Davis. I'm a certified ketogenic carnivore nutrition coach. My goal today is to do some comparisons, right? Comparing animal protein versus plant protein because most times when they do comparisons, they make it sound like plant protein is just as good as animal protein, and that's so far from the truth, right? Most of the protein, or some at least, of the protein in plant products is not bioavailable to humans, meaning we just pass it from this hole to that hole and we don't absorb it. And whereas availability for, say, beef, right? It's estimated 95% of the protein in beef is available to humans. So I thought, let's go over this. And I used several different sources. And I'm going to share my screen and let's get into it. Okay, so first off, let me just make sure everything's set the way it needs to be. You don't need to see my mug very big. So this is a chart I made. Here's my references. Here's my sources of what I use to get the information from the plant information, the beef, chicken, and fish information. So if you want to see where I got that, there you go. So the first thing that I did was I had to make an equated assumption that we need to have like serving sizes, because what I have noticed that a lot of times the serving sizes are actually different, and it's really hard for people to visualize and compare, 3 ounces of something to 3/4 cups of something, or whatever the differentiation may be. So what I did was the beef and the chicken were both in 3 ounce servings. The fish was in 4 ounce, and then the plant stuff was either in half or full cup. And so I converted all of it to make sure that it is all 4 ounces or a half cup, because 4 ounces converts to a half a cup. And so I said, okay, well, what does this look like? And the reason that I used the number of things that I did was based off the first one that I got from the Medical News Today website of the 15 highest protein plant-based products. And so I thought, well, we'll just go off of that. And so I put it all together. Obviously, there's a lot more cuts of beef. I didn't include them all. Just likewise, there's more types of fish. I didn't include them all. But what I did do is I take the highest per gram containing product and threw it up on the list. And I do eat most of these. The 95% ground beef, I really only eat if I'm making carnivore pizza, because if you have anything more fatty than that, it's just going to be a greasy mess as far as your crust. So let's see what the results were. Well, they're fairly simple, right? Everything in this kind of yellow orangish color has more protein in it per 4 ounces than the highest plant containing product, which is peanuts, right? So a half a cup of peanuts has 20 grams of protein in it. And so then I said, okay, well, what has the same amount of protein in it? And that's the chicken legs, right? You have trout, bluefish, pollock, and yellowtail. And then the rest of it obviously just goes from there. So if you look at this chart, it's pretty simple to see that every cut of beef has more protein than the highest protein containing plant product. And I didn't make up these numbers, right? These were all per half cup or whole cup via somebody else saying that that's what they were. So then it came up and I thought, I got a couple other questions. So I used the search assist and I found this chart, because let's face it, when I go to, say, Texas Roadhouse, I get the 12-ounce ribeye. My husband gets the 16-ounce ribeye. Who in the hell's eating a 4 ounce piece of meat, right? Even sirloin is usually either 6 or 8 ounces, which I don't typically eat sirloin because it's just not fatty enough. But I thought, okay, well, what are some common dish sizes and servings out in the community, right? So I found obviously steak, beef roast, ground beef. I eat a lot of ground beef, right? And they're typically 6 to 8 ounce servings for adults. I actually make 10-ounce servings for my husband for his patty. So he's getting even more than that. And then I thought, okay, well, how does that compare then? And I didn't do it for everything because my God, that would be one hell of a long video. And so I said, okay, well, if we have, peanuts and we have an 8-ounce top sirloin steak, how many cups of peanuts would it take to get the same amount of protein? So you would have to eat 2.5 cups of peanuts to get the same amount of protein in an 8-ounce sirloin, right? You'd have to have 3 cups to get the same amount as an 8-ounce chicken breast, right? And then I said, well, what about almonds, right? I won't eat oxalates anymore. I actually used to promote them on ketogenic, but then I did research on oxalates and they are the highest nut containing oxalates. Like, why in the hell would you ground those up, put them in flour? Oh, almond flour, it's so good for you. And then you wind up having kidney stones. Um, but I digress. So you would have to eat 2.5 cups of almonds to get the same protein in 8 ounces of 95% ground beef. Okay, you'd have to have 1 3/4 cups for an 8-ounce serving of halibut, which is fish. Then I heard of tempeh. I've never seen tempeh, I don't think, like live at a dish somewhere. Um, but like I said, I ate a 12-ounce ribeye. You'd have to have 4 cups of tempeh in order to equate to a 12-ounce ribeye. You'd have to have 2 cups of 80% ground beef to get 8-ounce serving. Okay, I use 8 ounce because that's what I use for my hamburgers. And so when you look at it and you look at the chart, like I don't understand how they can even say you can get the same amount of protein. I mean, for example, one of the things I found interesting is they always talk about beans and rice, right? So a half a cup of beans and rice is only 4 grams. Okay. That means you would have to have 5 cups of beans and rice to get the same amount of protein out of a 4-ounce top sirloin. Like, who in the hell can eat 4.5 cups of beans and rice? I mean, you would just be intestinal distress to the nines, right? And so, if you want, take a snippet of this chart, use it, digest it, provide comments, questions, concerns. And by all means, if you haven't done so already, like this video if you like it, subscribe to the channel. I am a person that has a full-time day job outside of making these videos. I make and edit and upload all these videos myself. I would love to make this my full-time job. I do have a business, Twiggy Fitness. Check it out, reach out. I do have a list of do's and don'ts that I provide for a basic ketogenic way of eating. You're welcome to hit me up for that. Um, but with that, I hope you got something out of it. I hope you learned something from it, and have a good day.